I got a new picture. I just haven't had a chance to do it.
All right, so we're live.
We're
live now.
Okay, so welcome everyone. We're going to begin our meeting and we'll open it. And this is the regular meeting of council dated Tuesday, October the 6th. So welcome everybody. Before we begin, if we could please have a moment of silence. Thank you, everybody. So moving on, I don't believe that there have been any correspondence item moved forward for action. So we're just going to move forward then into the adoption of the agenda. And I have a motion that was moved by Karen Jennings and seconded by Jeff Carroll that the regular meeting of council agenda dated October the 6th, 2020 be approved as circulated. All in favor? And that is carried. Thank you. I'll also remind all of council that if you have any disclosure of interest, you can declare it now or anytime during the meeting. Moving on, our next resolution was moved by Klaus Vandermeer and seconded by Ian Straight that the minutes of the special meeting of September the 9th, 2020 be approved as circulated. All in favor? That is carried. Thank you. I will then now ask if there are any, if there's any business arising from those minutes. Yes, Ian.
Just a quick question for Jasmine. I was just wondering if you've got any feedback from the letters or anything.
I did get feedback from the letters from the official plan. Yes, I did get a number of people who reached out after they received it and did say, did express that they were happy to know what was going on. And we got a number of other people who have been added to the mailing list in terms of the notification list. So yes, we did get some comments. Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you.
Anything else? I have a question, Jasmine. I guess this is for you. It's under 2A. And I think when we talked about the communal servicing and the growth, our consultant, Mr. Forbes, noted that we as a council needed to formulate an idea of how many new units we would like in the future. And then then we would have to design a policy around that. I guess my question is simply we really haven't addressed that yet. And I'm kind of assuming that if you were to ask all five of us, we may have a different figure. So I guess my question is simple. I'm not asking to have a discussion about it, but just at what point do we move this forward so that we can give Mr. Forbes that idea of how many new units do we want to build? I don't think we've ever pinned that down.
No, and ultimately that's going to be a discussion that's going to be guided by Mr. Forbes in some of our future discussions. Yeah. Okay,
perfect. Okay. Anything else then? Okay, thank you everybody for that. And then moving on, now Mr. Carter isn't with us yet, is he?
He is, yeah.
Is here, yes.
Okay, so
I believe Bill, Reeve Dobson, my apologies. There is another resolution related to the minutes for the 15th.
Oh yes, I'm sorry. Oh yes, the minutes, because there's two there under the D. I see that. So we have another motion, and that was moved by Jeff Carroll and seconded by Karen Jennings, that the minutes of the regular meeting of September the 15th, 2020 be approved as circulated. All in favor? Thank you. And I will now go to any minutes arising from those minutes, if any. Claus?
Sorry, thank you, Reeve. In regards to the septic system, RFQ been put out yet?
Yes, it has been released.
Okay,
It's released
thank you.
today.
Thanks.
Okay, Ian?
The two policies that we had talked about, the gravel maintenance and the culvert and ditching policy, when do you expect to have something on that, Jasmine? What's your estimated time frame?
Well, I'd like to have at least a draft for you. I'm thinking next month. I have their new public works manager on it because it should be, something that comes from them. We work closely on it as well. So hoping to have a draft, next month or so. He just started, so I don't want to
Oh no, throw them into the weeds.
Never mind.
Yes, Ian?
The other thing, I guess, did you ever find out about the Rideau Street stuff, the work that was done there?
Yes, so I have confirmed with the Director of Public Works, Troy Dunlop, that the Rideau Street is the responsibility of Town of Smith Falls to manage.
So there's no charge to us then?
No.
Because they just had a note that when they did do the ditching, they did replace all the culverts and everything for the people that live on that road.
Yeah.
And we fixed their driveways and everything else. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Ian. I have a question, I think maybe for you, Jasmine. We, in the minutes there, the staff, we directed you to see if there can be an extension of the end date of the feasibility study. Is there anything any update on that?
So yes, generally, yes, the end date has been delayed a little bit already, to the tune of about 2 months or so. But I don't have necessarily a concrete answer on that.
Okay, no, that's good that they're not tied to a certain date. Okay, thank you. Any other business, Ian?
Just in regards to that, Reeve, I'm just wondering, what's an acceptable limit? You know what I mean? If the whole idea of having this is to get funding and for funding and everything else, the longer that we push it off, when does the funding announcements come out for the province? In the new year, at the beginning of the new year? You want to make sure you have these things already. You just paid all that money. Let's make sure we can take benefit of it. You'd hate to have to lose a whole year on it.
Yeah. Do you have a comment on that, Jasmine?
I think what I can do is the next meeting I can bring back to council what the consultant recommends. And then we can provide comment on that if that works.
Sure.
Okay, thank you. Then I don't see any other business arising from those minutes, so we'll move on to our delegation of the night. And we have Mr. Dan Carter, who will be speaking on the Canadian Hemp Farmers Alliance. And Mr. Carter, I'm hoping that you can hear me now, but just to let you know that we have a 10-minute timeline on a delegation. And when you're finished, then I will ask council if they have any questions for you. So you have 10 minutes for this delegation. And so welcome to our meeting, Dan, and we appreciate you coming and giving us this delegation. So I'm going to open up the floor to you. So that's to you, Dan. Thank you. Hello, Jasmine.
Yep.
Do you know if Mr. Carter he may be muted?
Yeah, he's on the call.
There we go.
Now?
Sure can.
Perfect. Thank you guys for having me here today. My name's Dan Carter. I'm the CEO and founder of the Canadian Hemp Farmers Alliance. And this presentation is the federal, provincial, and municipal government on how we can adopt and mandate hemp into the sustainable development strategies. Essentially how your municipality can become a part of the mission of the Canadian Hemp Farmers Alliance, which is to mandate hemp cultivation, processing, product formulation, and as well research and development into Canada's sustainable development strategy. The Canadian Hemp Farmers Alliance is currently consulting to have the Canadian federal, provincial, municipal government on opening green procurement applications where governments can become the purchasers of the sustainable functional hemp-based products that will be developed at the manufacturing facilities. You will also join the Canadian Hemp Farmers Alliance mission, which is to tackle the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals by working with Canadian industry farmers, processors, product formulators, product research and developers, as well academia and government departments to develop national and international cost competitive, sustainable, functional hemp-based products that will help to reduce the global need for further investing into environmentally unfriendly projects, such as fracking for fossil fuels, mining, and as well tree deforestation. Those three main materials right there are currently being developed for the most part into one consumer use products that are ending up in our landfills, oceans, and as well municipal drinking water that's hindering the health of humans, animals, plants, insects, and underwater plant life. The Canadian Hemp Farmers Alliance is consulting with Canadian federal, provincial, municipal governments on behalf of the Canadian hemp farmers, processors, product formulators, and as well research and developers to have hemp become a mandated crop in Canada for 1, outdoor cultivation, 2, processing, 3, product formulation on a commercial level, and as well 4, product research and development. And we know that municipalities right now have the power to sit down with their local manufacturers and encourage them to start using more sustainable materials, and hemp can help fill that role. Essentially what the Canadian Hemp Farmers Alliance is looking to do is raise $3 million, which we'd like to develop on a small scale research and development level, hemp-based functional products, such as hemp bioplastics, pulp and paper, liquid fuels, solid energy pellets, batteries, automobile parts, building materials, textile fabrics and non-wovens, as well as soil remediation materials. We're looking to just do this on a small scale level and looking to then raise the funds so that we can commercialize this within Canada in your local municipality, and as well encourage your local municipality manufacturers to start using more sustainable products, and hemp can start filling this role. And we know that your local municipality has the power to sit down with your local manufacturers and start educating them on how to use more sustainable products. Right now, the Canadian Hemp Farmers Alliance main platform is the UN Sustainable Development Goals, which was passed down from the UN in 2015, in which they're looking to have all provincial, municipal, and federal governments adopting and implementing as well a sustainable development strategy plan. And we have developed a roadmap that hemp can tackle 15 of the 17 UN Sustainable Development Goals, and we can bring this down to a local level now. Examples on how we could adopt sustainable functional hemp-based products into Canada's Sustainable Development Strategy Plan would be by opening up green procurement opportunities for their own various government departments who will be the purchasers of the sustainable functional hemp-based products from the formulation facility who will be the sellers to the government. Ways that the government departments can encourage hemp agricultural growth is by purchasing just simple products like hemp toilet paper, photocopying paper, tissue paper, paper towels, as well bags. It could even hit markets such as hemp bioplastics for your cutlery, bowls, plates, straws, and as well bags. It could as well be used for municipality uniforms, as well police, firefighter, and judge and jury uniforms within your local municipality. It could be used for new building material insulation projects, and as well for hemp supercapacitor batteries for all government and public automobiles that will be electrically powered in the future. Again, your local municipality has the power to sit down with your local manufacturers and start encouraging them to use more sustainable materials, and hemp can help fill that role. By having the Canadian federal, provincial, municipal government adopting functional hemp-based materials into the sustainable development plans, this will help to reduce the global market need for further investing into things like fracking, mining, and deforestation. And this will encourage other corporations to adopt functional hemp-based materials as well into their sustainable development strategies, as this will as well encourage agricultural growth and give the formulators, processors, and farmers the ability to work out a healthy profit-sharing contract, which in turn will allow the farmers, processors, and product formulators to expand at the same rate, creating millions of jobs both nationally and internationally to help advance the UN Sustainable Development Goals. Some simple jobs that would be created if there was a procurement opportunity opened up. Jobs such as government departments, researchers and developers for developing new products, processors, product formulators on a commercial level, agricultural farmers, and as well marketers within brokerage, as well distribution. And as well, new business owners will as well be able to get involved within different demographics, such as women, youth, and indigenous. From the 2018 year, the Canadian federal government of the Environment Minister released their carbon emission plan, which essentially in 2018 alone, 1.5 trillion pounds of carbon emission was emitted into the atmosphere through all major industries just in Canada. The good thing is hemp can sequester, if grown on a fibrous dense crop, 20,000 pounds of carbon sequestration per acre per 100-day crop cycle. Canada would need to grow 77.5 million acres of hemp just in 1 year to sequester just 2018's carbon emissions. The good thing is that Canada has 232 million acres of of agricultural farmland available right now for cultivation, and as well we can encourage crop rotations. If Canada was to just grow 1/3 of the total farmland in 1 year, that would sequester 100% of the 2018 emissions. If Canada was to just grow 14 million acres from year 2020 to 2030, this would sequester 100%. Canada is currently only growing 150,000 acres, which is contributing to 3 billion pounds of carbon sequestration. And within the Canadian Hemp Farmers Alliance, there's 25 members collectively growing 5,000 acres of hemp, which is contributing to 1 million pounds of carbon sequestration for every 100-day crop cycle. There's some facts here that I'd like to state within how hemp used to be a mandated crop back in the day. Back in 1533, King Henry VIII, King of England as well, fined farmers for not growing hemp. As well, in the early 1700s, law required American farmers to grow hemp or they would be fined. In 1801, Peter Hunter, which was the lieutenant governor of the province of Upper Canada, he was told to distribute seeds for free to the farmers, and the government would then purchase the hemp product and use this for export sales for economic growth. In 1916, the USDA published findings showing that hemp produced 4 times more paper per acre than wood does. And as well, hemp only takes 100 days to mature, whereas trees take 8 to 25 years to mature for use. It was then in 1924 when DuPont hired Charles Stein, who was the vice president, which he created the laboratory to make nylon. Charles Stein later hired Dr. Wallace, which he invented nylon. It was in 1935 when nylon became commercially available in America and across the world. It was in 1936 when William Hearst's wood-based newspaper facility sees hemp being as competition. His newspaper put out fake propaganda around hemp and used racial fear tactics to manipulate civilians and governments about the true benefits of hemp. William Hearst as well used chemicals from DuPont for his wood pulp and paper industry. The movie Reefer Madness as well in 1936 came about. It was released and it had members in it like Harry J. Anslinger, who was the Federal Bureau of Narcotics. He was invested heavily into DuPont as well as the wood pulp and paper industry with William Hearst, who put out the fake propaganda. It was in 1937 when the Marijuana Tax Act was drafted, and it was drafted by Harry J. Anslinger and Andrew Mellon, who was a banker and secretary of the Treasurer and one of the richest men in the nation, who as well was heavily invested into DuPont. They wanted to protect their financial interests. These parties conspired to make hemp illegal, as well made it impossible to obtain research funding to make hemp or cannabis-based products.
Excuse me, Dan, you have about another minute or so.
Perfect. Yeah, I was just wrapping up right there and was just going to say I as well sent over a membership application, which I'd like your municipality to sign and send back. We're looking to present this in front of Privy Council and have this become a mandated crop within Canada. And as well, we'd like to see how we could work there and conduct commercialization within any of these hemp-based products.
Thank you, Dan. Is that it, Dan?
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it.
Okay. Thank you, Dan. I'm going to open it up to council if they have questions. Anyone, please? Yes, Ian first and then Claus.
Dan, I agree with you. Probably there are a lot of, there's definitely lots of uses for hemp and anything that goes to help make sure that we reduce our carbon footprint. I think it's a great idea. I guess one of my main questions though, Dan, is where's this stuff go? Like, where's the factories? Where's the shipping, storage, all this stuff for the hemp stuff? I think that's probably one of the biggest, downfalls to everything is the infrastructure that goes behind it. I'm sure there's lots of farmers that are out there that would gladly grow hemp or produce hemp or whatever, but at the end of the day, it has to have somewhere to go. And if there's nowhere for it to go and there's nowhere for them to sell their crop, then or to make money, then I don't think that mandating something is the best avenue forward.
Right now, yeah, there's just not enough processing capacity within the hemp industry right now. And all the contracts that do have small scale, those are kind of being eaten up right now, but those markets are slowly moving forward and they're kind of breaking the ice for all of this to kind of move forward throughout Canada. So we see that Canada definitely needs more investment from all levels of government for, farmers to get the infrastructure in, to get the farming equipment in so that we can start making an industry out of this and start using more sustainable materials.
Claus?
Thanks, Reeve. Good presentation, Dan. I certainly learned some good ideas that I never knew about hemp to start with. So what is it you're looking for us as a council to do then? Repeat that. I didn't quite catch that.
So essentially what we're looking for is for your municipality to get the membership contract signed. We're looking to see if your municipality would be interested within investments and as well seeing how we could work together with getting local manufacturers on board as well for using sustainable other hemp-based materials.
Okay, that's your request. Thank you.
Jeff?
Thanks, Dan. I really like the presentation too as well, and I agree with you that like hemp has had a chef for over the years. And it is a product that really is, I hope, makes a strong comeback. And I know, to echo kind of what Councillor Straight said, I know there's lots of other parts that there's a problem with the processing and getting it in market for farmers to sell it to. And on the other side, I mean, I have a hard time sort of on the government side, because to me, this is a business startup, and like private funding and private money is kind of where these sort of things kind of go from. And I'll use Tweed as an example. I mean, they've spent billions of dollars before they've made money in order to get to where they need to start making money. And I don't know how government can really push too far of it, where it's just like to me, it's a private sort of building to do it. I mean, the feds might be able to offer you like tax advantages, but on our level, I love the idea, but I just don't see how government can do that. But I mean, I encourage you to keep going, because obviously don't stop with what Montague's going to say, but I think it's a great idea. But I see more of this as a private push than a government push than anything else. But anyways, thank you.
I appreciate that. And if there's any local, investors there that you see, moving projects forward, we'd love to, get in touch with them and see how we could potentially, move something forward here.
So Dan, I wanted to mention something that I know that in the early 20th century and the late 19th century, hemp kind of had a bit of a comeback in North America, and especially in Canada, and especially in Ontario, and around the Toronto area and around the Lanark County area were two of the areas in Ontario that really got into the idea of growing hemp. And it actually, for a fairly short period of time, it was a fairly vibrant agricultural business, but it actually failed. And one of the reasons it failed was not just the idea of what you brought up in the lack of processing, say, but the biggest problem with it at the time was that we did not have the proper equipment to harvest hemp. And hemp, I guess, as you know, has a lot more dense fiber than, say, most grains. And we really didn't have the machinery to harvest it. And that, I have been told, and the little bit of reading I have done on it was that that was the biggest downfall. So it wasn't just the processing, but it was even to have the equipment to harvest it. So I guess my question to you is like, what could you comment on that, on either the availability of this equipment now or the lack of it or whatever?
Yeah, for sure. So we're actually consulting for a company that they are making harvesting equipment for harvesting the fiber and as well the flour. And essentially this is going around throughout the United States, and this is one of the most used pieces of equipment. It's just an attachment that can go onto any piece of equipment that has enough capacity to hold the weight of this, I guess, front harvesting attachment that would harvest off the flour and the fibers. So that part of the industry has now been solved, and we're on that side of now, supplying farmers with, the solution.
I guess I have one last question. Do you know, I forget the gentleman's name, but I have met him and I have talked to him about it. But there is a local person who I believe he's living either in or near Smith Falls, but he had been raised in Toronto, but he became an expert in the history of the cultivation of hemp. And I think he's supposed to be one of the true Canadian experts in this. Have you met that gentleman?
What's the name again? Sorry.
Well, I don't know the name, but if you're interested, I could try to follow up. I will get the name for you because he was somebody that was very interested in promoting the idea, at least also.
Perfect. Yeah.
So I could get that name to you if you were interested.
Yeah, very interested.
So any other questions then, council? Okay, seeing none. So thank you very much, Dan. And I'm sure that we'll have a further discussion on this at a little later date, but not in this meeting, I don't think. But I appreciate you coming, and we'll look forward maybe to talking to you again.
Perfect. I appreciate your time, council, and we'll talk soon.
Thank you, Dan.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dan.
Okay, moving on to the first report of our municipal officer. And the first one is yours, Jasmine. That's going to be on the user fees and the charges effective date. So Jasmine, I'll hand this over to you. Thanks.
So we did discuss user fees and charges at our previous meeting at committee of the whole, but we didn't have a discussion of the effective date of those charges. So just wanted to check in with council. I have drafted the bylaw to have all of the other charges go into effect immediately, with exception of the planning fees to go into place as of January 1st, 2020. This would give us a chance to advertise those changes appropriately and doesn't necessarily have the effect of having anybody in that is kind of midway in an application, because sometimes severance applications in particular do take a little bit, be caught up and they weren't going to have a fee and now they're going to have a fee immediately. So that's the recommendation and how I've drafted the bylaw. But I am interested in feedback from council.
Yes, Claus?
Thanks, Jasmine. January 1st, 2020 or 2021?
Yeah, exactly.
Sorry.
Sorry.
2021 is the intent. Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Sorry. I have no further questions, Ray. Thank you.
Okay, anyone else?
No.
Okay, seeing none. Anything else in Jasmine?
That's it. Thank you.
Okay, I do have a motion which was moved by Ian Straight and seconded by Klaus Vandermeer, that council receive the user fees and charges effective date, and that the following be approved: that council endorse the effective date for the user fees and charges and pass the bylaw in the bylaw section of the meeting. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you.
Can I have a
move-
question?
Yes, Karen?
So Jasmine, what happens if somebody is in the process of a severance that maybe, does it go to you first and then to the county? Like, so that we're aware that we're not going to cause additional fees by doing this date?
Yes, it does go to our staff, either the CBO or the planner, prior to it being submitted to the county. There's a pre-consultation process.
Okay,
Okay, thank you. And now, so that's it for that. We're moving on to the reports of the committees. And the first one is the Committee of the Whole of September the 15th, 2020. I have a motion, was moved by by Karen Jennings, and seconded by Jeff Carroll, that the council approve the minutes of the meeting of Committee of the Whole meeting of September the 15th, 2020, and approve the recommendations contained within. All in favor? And that is carried. Thank you. Now I'll go ask if there are any, if there's any business arising from those minutes. And Jeff?
So a lot has changed, obviously, in 2 weeks. They've changed with the provincial government, and now we're going to go into maybe more changes we could see coming up in the near future. And I'm wondering if there's any interest we want to talk about having the in-person public meeting again, if that's something that we really want to do, what's coming up going forward. Just kind of interested if we want to have that discussion, because I mean, a lot has changed, and I mean, I wouldn't bring it up if the changes didn't happen, but they've obviously reduced the numbers for inside, and I don't know if there's writing on the wall, but we could see changes happening in the next 2 weeks again. So do we want to keep planning for that, or I mean, like I've always said, I want to have it like face to face, but are we being realistic?
I have a question from Karen and then Claus.
so I understand the indoor numbers, but I thought there were some facility numbers that were still able to stay at 50, provided the spacing, the physical distancing was still allowed. And if we were looking at the Civitan Club, which had the capability of streaming, we would be able to still meet that target, would we not?
I think what we were doing at the time, we were talking about, we gave staff direction to look at like a hybrid type of model for a public meeting, and it was going to be both in person and electronic. That was the staff direction, I believe. But I don't think that it was cut in stone at that moment, at least. I have Claus, and then Jeff and Ian.
Okay, thank you, Reeve. Yeah, I have to tend to agree with Councillor Jeff Carroll. Since the last couple of weeks, things have changed immensely, and I'm feeling that we should revisit this, have another discussion on it, to be all comfortable with how we're moving forward. Because whatever we do, it's going to be a risk, and it's going to be on our shoulders if something goes amiss. And I'd hate for us to be in that position. So I think we need to get opinions from everybody to see where we're going and have a reconsideration.
Okay, I think I saw Jeff next, and then Ian.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, I was just gonna just say, like, I agree, Karen, because they do have it at 50, but there's a lot of obviously what's being asked is asking people to stay home. So that number is there, is like, recommended 50, and all that's there. But there's been a big ask, and it's one of those. I almost want to say it's one of those leadership things from the government, where we should be kind of preaching that, asking everybody to stay home and be safe. So we should also be doing that in our practice too as well. And that's why I'm not really thinking that that's really showing the right leadership of practice by saying, yeah, but we're okay to still have those kind of gatherings. That's why, because we want to encourage people to stay home and to do the right thing. So that's kind of why I go with it. So there is the rules there, but there's been a big ask also for unless it's really necessary, we really want you to stay home. So that's why it's sort of I'm kind of leaning on that side. We want to be that leader of making sure we're encouraging people to do those right things.
Okay, Ian.
Yeah, at the end of the day, we want to make sure that we don't put people, or we, lessen the risk as much as possible, put people in a hazardous situation. I suggest that we ask the health unit for their advice as to what is their acceptable, what the numbers are within Lanark County leads Grumble, and see what they believe is an acceptable number. No, there's still hockey being played. There's still kids are still going to school. So the restaurants are still open. We haven't reverted back a step yet. But on the other hand, there is some growing numbers of the virus going around. So I think we want to be really careful what we do. And as I would love to have the opportunity to have it face-to-face or an open meeting with the public for the people that want to be able to be there. But I think that we need to make sure that we have all of our T's crossed and our I's dotted. And I wouldn't want to go forward without approval from the health unit, I think is one of the key players.
So I agree with what you're saying there, Ian, that in that I would also personally love to be able to do this in person, but whether the numbers are 10, 25, 50 or 100, as you remember 2 weeks ago in the meeting, I'm not, my personal opinion is that I'm not in favor of it, only because I don't like and I don't want to take a chance. But that was the way it was 2 weeks ago. And as it's been pointed out already, it's actually got worse. And the thing is, we're still dealing with being the next door neighbor to Ottawa, which is one of the three most serious high risk areas in Ontario, as we know, Toronto, Peel, and Ottawa. And I don't personally wouldn't want to take any chances, but I think maybe I saw Karen. Yeah, Karen.
Yeah. Did we have a date that we were doing this public meeting?
No,
We had not set a date yet.
no.
Irish.
Claus, did you had your hand up?
Yeah, thank you, Reeve. I just had another second thought, something I saw in the news tonight. What do we do if we decide to have a public meeting and someone shows up not wearing a mask? What are we going to do?
You can't come in. Simple.
Yeah, I know.
Real simple. You can't come in.
There was some guy in Toronto that refused to have it and they slapped a fine on him. So
Perfect.
we'd have to do the same thing.
So
It's just-
I think
I agree with you, Ian, but I think it's just a risk that we can avoid having to get into that kind of a confrontation.
so. I think the way we left it the last time that staff, we had given staff direction to look into a model that might work, but it sounds like that we're sort of taking going in a little bit of a different direction. So I'm going to still keep it open to council, because I think that staff will be now looking for direction on where to go from tonight. So Ian, you're next.
Do we have an idea when it might be, Jasmine?
You have to post for, I believe, 20 days. So it'd be a minimum of 20 days from this week. Like that'd be like the soonest that we could possibly hold it.
So we're talking November before potentially.
Yes.
So let's just monitor the situation, see how it goes, see what goes along with the government, and our next council meeting at the end of October, we make a decision.
Is that okay with everybody? I
Yeah.
see Karen's
Yeah.
shaking yes. Jeff?
Yeah.
If,
fine.
if it continues to go up and then, it's not safe for people, we don't do it. Simple. Nobody wants to put anybody at risk.
Okay, so thank you, Ian. So Jasmine, is that fine with you then for this staff direction?
Yeah.
Okay, thanks, council, for that. Is there any other business arising from the committee of the whole minutes of September the 15th? Okay, seeing none, we have no petitions. We have two bylaws, and I will read them. The first one was moved by Klaus Vandermeer, seconded by Ian Straight. The bylaw 3792 2020 being a bylaw to establish user fees and check charges administered by the Corporation of the Township of Montague. Be read a first, second, and third time and passed, signed and sealed this 6th day of October 2020. All in favor? And that is carried. Thank you. The
It
next
says
one.
2021 in the bylaw, the bylaw
Oh.
says 2021.
Oh, yes. Yes. Okay, the next one resolution was signed by Jeff Carroll, seconded by Karen Jennings. that bylaw 3793, 2020, being a bylaw to appoint a public works manager for the township of Montague, be read a first, second, and third time and passed, signed and sealed this 6th day of October 2020. So before we vote on this, Jasmine, if I could go to you, please. And there we see Stephen on our screen. Hi, Stephen, but I'm going to go to you, Jasmine, if you can introduce our newest employee.
So I'd like to introduce Stephen Rothwell, who joins us from ACOM Construction as a project estimator, was his most recent position. And he's joining us effective yesterday. So he's only 2 days on the job. So please be nice. It's been excellent so far. So welcome.
We're always nice, yeah, right.
I can't wait to see some job costing since you're a project estimator. That should be right down your alley.
Yep, absolutely it is.
Anything else?
Stephen,
Welcome,
no, I
Stephen.
got nothing. So I don't know if Stephen, you wanted to add a little hello or anything like that.
I just thank you guys for this opportunity. I'm looking forward to working for the township and working on behalf of all you guys. And thank you, Reeve and councilors and Jasmine yourself for putting me in this position, and looking forward to the opportunity.
Well, we'll be looking forward to meeting you and working with you. I'm sure that you're going to have a very busy year because there's an awful lot on the plate here and moving forward. So welcome, Stephen. It's very nice to meet you, and we'll be looking forward again, as I said, to working with you. And now I'm going to call the vote because you haven't actually quite been appointed until we vote for it. So, I did read the bylaw. So I'm going to ask all in favor. Thank you. That is carried. So you're off and running, Stephen.
Awesome. Thank you, Reeve. Thank you, councilors.
Thank you. Okay, thank you. Thank you also, Jasmine. And now we have no motions and notices of motion, and none of the correspondence was moved forward to action. I do believe that possibly somebody had a question. Claus, you had a question? Not
just
to
have a
move it
question.
forward to action, but a question, please.
Yeah, not to move forward action on the correspondence, if I may, Ray, thank you. 8E, the Minister of Municipal Affairs, Housing from Clark, I guess. Just some questions on that, Jasmine. I don't know if you want to get into it now or maybe at a further meeting. Can you maybe give us the Coles Notes version of this whole long description he has on the development charges and community benefit charges and that at a later date?
Yes. At a later date, I can definitely do that.
Okay, yeah.
Right now, no.
No, I don't expect that. I mean, I just happened to read through it this afternoon myself, and I had a few questions about that. Specifically, an explanation on the 4%. What does that mean? Zero in on
Okay.
that.
We
Okay.
will be bringing, excuse me, we'll be bringing further reports about this.
Okay.
It is a pretty significant change, and particularly when we're going to be looking at our development charges review next year.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Thanks, Claus. Okay, moving on then. We have no other business, but Jasmine, I'm going to, before we adjourn the meeting, I'm going to ask if there are any questions from the public.
Second.
This is the
So I have
fastest.
not received any questions from the public.
Okay. Okay, thank you. So we have a motion here. It was moved by Ian Straight and seconded by Claus Vandermeer, that bylaw 3794, 2020, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council at its regular meeting held on October the 6th, 2020, be read a first, second, and third time and passed, signed, and sealed this 6th day of October, 2020. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. And last resolution here, second last. No, last one. I have a motion moved by Karen Jennings, seconded by Jeff Carroll, that this meeting do now adjourn. at 6:47 p.m. until October the 20th, 2020 at 6 p.m. or until the call of the Reeve, subject to need. All in favor? And that is carried. Thank you. So that is our regular meeting is adjourned, and we'll take maybe 2 minutes. Is 2 minutes okay, or do we need 3 minutes?
No, too good.
Okay, 2 minutes to then move to our committee meeting. Okay.
Thank you.
Sounds good.
Is that your grandson? Or granddaughter, sorry. You're muted, Bill.
Jasmine, your voice again. Your voice, your voice doing that crackling blah blah thing. That's the best impression I can do. Sorry. Finally, a cute picture and with the Reeve. Holy jumping.
My goodness, she's growing.
Yeah.
Is this better?
Can she run the meeting instead of Bill? Is that possible?
Yeah,
Or
that's
is-
why. It looks like, I think she runs Bill around pretty good. I know what that's like.
Is my audio better?
Yep, that's better.
I don't know why that happens.
What is that? Yeah, what does that happen to? I don't know.
I've read maybe that my phone is too close to it, but
Oh, okay.
I don't really move my phone a lot, so I don't know why it would work for half the meeting and not the other.
Bill's still muted. Bill. Hit the button. There
Can
you
you
go.
hear me okay?
Yeah.
Yep.
I didn't, I must have gone, oh, did you unmute me? Or did you mute me, Jasmine?
I mute everyone when we do the.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah.
So we're not live yet?
Yes, we're still live. Yeah.
Okay, so I think, do we have everybody back?
Yep.
Okay, so welcome everybody again. We're going to open the committee of the whole meeting of October the 6th. So the first motion that I have here was moved by Klaus Vandermeer and seconded by Ian Straight, that the committee of the whole agenda dated October the 6th, 2020 be approved. All in favor? And that is carried. Thank you. I'll remind all of council again that if you have any disclosure of interest, you can declare it now or any time during the meeting. And moving on, we have no delegations tonight in this committee meeting. And we have the first municipal officer report. And that's going to be yours, Andrew, on the surplus report. So thank you, Andrew. And you can have the screen.
Thank you. Good evening, Reeve Dobson and members of the Committee of the Whole. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, perfect.
Yes.
All right, that's great. So tonight, this report is the 2019 surplus allocation report. And it's a follow-up to the 2019 year-end financial statements being completed. So now that those are done, we've confirmed the 2019 surplus to be allocated is $877,398. And the townships had surpluses in other years. This one, it's increased specifically because of the one-time provincial funding that was received last year by the township for $397,701. So looking at the second page of the report, the staff has given a suggestion of the allocation of the 2019 surplus, keeping relatively aligned within the departments of where the surpluses are originating from. And just wanted to point out on the attachment that is the draft of reserves and reserve funds that goes with this report. There is a correction under the fire department. The surplus that was being added of $43,018 didn't carry over to the subtotal in the right-hand column. So where it reads on that page 202,550, it should read 245,568. And at the bottom of the corner, in the right-hand corner, the overall total, instead of reading 5,199,694, will read 5,242,712. So basically, this is this evening putting the money into the reserves and reserve funds. And I think the opportunity to discuss in the future, the budget meeting, whether there'll be any opportunities or benefit to balancing these funds to leverage either grant funding, for example, are things that council can decide through the budget process when there are specific items that those can be related to. So basically with this report, we finished the 2019 year-end audit, we've verified the surplus, and we're ready to move that money into reserves. So once we have it transferred in, then we're ready for the budget discussions to begin. So are there any questions?
Karen?
So thank you, Andrew. I do have a couple things though. On the transfer to recreation for the 29,908,
Yes,
I see that you've noted that it's going to come out of where the surplus was for building and planning,
that's right.
except that we have to assign anything that pertains to the building department themselves back to a building reserve. It can't go against this. It has to go specifically into the building reserve. The building has to stay with its own.
Okay,
Okay, it's something we're going to have to do in our budget. We're going to have to split out building and planning because we do have to track that building separate. We can't be rolling it in. So I don't know how you'll do it, but we do need to have the building money. It can't be allocated to recreation.
okay. So yeah, we can make that change then.
Yeah, that's the only thing that I'm not quite sure. What do we use the social services for? That's just our donations.
Yes.
So
there was more money budgeted for donations than was approved by council.
correct, but you're going to put it into a surplus called social services? Like a reserve, sorry?
That's right.
And then what is that money supposed to then be used for?
That would be at the discretion of council through either the budgeting process or, as directed. When I look back at 2018 and how the surplus was allocated in 2018,
Yep.
I realized that a similar transfer had been made. So I followed suit with that. So that definitely could come up at the budget discussion as to whether that is the best place for that, or it can be used somewhere else in a better way.
Perfect.
So going along with that question of yours, Karen, but the question is for you, Andrew. If we do this and if we put it into that reserve, we could still move it back out of that reserve in the future if we had to.
Right. Council has the ability to do that to
Yeah.
its benefit. For
Yes,
budget.
thanks. Okay, any other questions? I have Jeff and then Ian.
I'd say like a couple. Is the reason why you wanted to put so much into contingencies right now? Is that just kind of to place it there for now and then we can discuss it more at budget?
Right, yeah. Trying to keep it consistent with how the prior year surpluses were allocated. It was a similar process.
To put that much in.
And contingency, you could look at that as a place where if there was any unforeseen major events or changes, that it could help reduce any dramatic change to the tax rate. So it'd be available for that potentially.
And I guess my only thoughts, I mean, I'm fine with, obviously, that's the whole thing. Like, this is sort of a process right now where we're gonna have the money in the reserves. During budget, we're gonna talk more about moving it around and if we want to have to, key on projects. Because one of the things that popped into my mind right away is from our roads needs study. And I maybe want to just kind of say it as council to kind of keep that, is that we have part of our roads is that we have our road goals that we want to be able to work towards. So there's those certain roads that are not in the roads needs study, but that need to be done because we can't afford them. Is like start talking about having a spot for that so we can kind of allude to what Andrew was saying about the grants and everything else that we have. We're starting to show we're putting money aside for these projects that we can't afford so we can go after those grants too as well. So anyways, but I mean, we're going to do all that in the budget time. So thanks, Andrew. This is great.
You're welcome.
Ian?
Yeah, I was going to go along the same line as Councillor Carroll. Is that this is all a great start, but we really need to take this to the next level. And it's nice to say that we have $5 million in reserves, but where's it going? What does that look like in comparison 5-10 years down the road? If we take and annualize what our average growth is and everything else like that, our roads need study, not only that, but our asset management plan. So, we start incorporating all these pieces in, and we need to look at it a little bit more in depth on what it is to make sure that we understand that we're not in trouble 7 years down the road or 6 years down the road or 10 or 15 years down the road. So I would like to make sure that we kind of take that next step and understand where our money's going to be going and just not kind of squirreling it away and make sure we're putting it in the right spot.
Right. So hopefully later this month, we'll be able to pin down a date for our first budget meeting, which I'm hoping that we'll layer those things together, the long-term financial planning, the asset management, and make it more of a forward-looking decision process. So that's sort of like tonight, looking at this is somewhat philosophical, whereas it'll be more action item related
Exactly.
once we get going on the budget.
Okay, I have Claus and then Karen.
This may be just a small question. For police and protection services, how did we end up with $11,347 reserve? Did we over budget?
So the OPP contract, when it gets finalized, it came in under what we budgeted by that much.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
And that's fairly persistent for the last few years. It's been coming in under, when they reconciled, it's been coming in under what we budgeted.
Okay, follow up then, Reeve. If it's been coming under every year, is it necessary to put that into a reserve? Can we move that someplace else?
Well, it could easily go over budget too.
Okay,
Yeah, but that's what you have your contingency for, right? That's your contingency. For everyone.
Yeah. Okay,
okay.
Karen.
Well,
Just on that note, because that was what I was leading to, just forgot. The police and bylaw have been merged together because they're all under protective police and protection services. But I think I'd like to keep our bylaw, which is in-house stuff, in our reserve, and keep that place that is by contract going separate, if that's possible moving forward as well in our budget talks. Just about how we allocate things.
I can make note of that.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay. Now, anything else then, Andrew?
No, I believe that's it as far as presenting the report.
Okay, then thank you. I don't see any other questions and comments. So I do have a motion here. It was moved by Karen Jennings and seconded by Jeff Carroll that the Committee of the Whole receive the 2019 surplus report and that the following be recommended to Council. That Council approve the allocation of the 2019 surplus to reserve accounts as recommended in this report. All in favor? That is carried. Thank you, Andrew, for this.
Thank you.
Okay, and moving on to our next report of the municipal officer, which is yours, Jasmine, on the maternity leave coverage.
Thank you, Reeve Dobson. So coming up as of January 2021, I almost said 2022, that we will require some mat leave coverage for the clerk administrator position, so my position. I put together some options for council for the maternity leave coverage of my position. So there's two main aspects of the clerk administrator's job that can be considered separately and together. The first part is the administrator role, which is the higher level management of the organization, dealing directly with the council and dealing with higher level escalated complaints or issues. And this is just overall, just a general summary for understanding. And then the other part of it is the clerk's job, which is a statutorily required position that manages council agendas, bylaw minutes, along with a multitude of other legislatively required duties. As a note, it's not expected that the leave is going to affect preparations for the 2022 municipal election. I know it's way too early to talk about this in a significant way, but prep starts about a year early, a little under a year. So unless there's a large scale amendment to the election legislation, it's unlikely that it's going to impact the preparation for that election. So I'll go over a couple of options. So the option one would be to treat the clerk's job and the administrator role as separate roles and manage the coverage of each of those roles separately. That is the recommended option. So I am recommending that we create a new deputy clerk job description with all of the statutory roles of the clerk without some maybe final approval responsibilities. What we could do is create that job description and then score it using our salary scoring tools. And then we could post a 12-month employment contract for this position beginning at the beginning of January. So ideally that there is some overlap in the positions. And in that way, we could also develop the administrator job description and seek out a contract with a municipally experienced individual. We have had contractors fill in the past on a part-time basis, or we could explore options for internal appointments. There are a staff that are interested in that. And if council does endorse this position, what we would do at the next meeting would be to have an in-camera session to talk about those particular individuals. This option could potentially see cost savings over the year for the township, depending on how the position scores. It's likely to see cost savings. So after council endorses this option, staff would bring forward information regarding the position scoring and the availability of people that could fit the role, the administrator role. So what this would allow would basically allow the work of the municipality to continue and the work of the clerk to continue. The clerk often has very time-sensitive roles. So it's important that there be an adequate time allotted to that clerk's position and that clerk's work. And ultimately, this arrangement would allow work in the township to continue as normal and not impact the work of any other member of staff. Staff, council, or ongoing major projects. The other two options explored would be to seek out contract workers to fill the clerk administrator role as it is now, full time. Excuse me, I'm talking too fast. So this would be to seek out a municipally experienced contract worker to fill the position full time. I think it would likely be more expensive than the current salary package. And it might be additionally difficult to find a contractor that wants to work full time for a full year. Most of the contractors that we've had experience with are only interested in working part-time. A part-time position for both the clerk administrator and the clerk administrator role together is not recommended because it would just be difficult to manage the workload and level of responsibility without impacts to the organization. And the final option would be to advertise for a one-year employment contract for the clerk administrator. Unfortunately, due to the nature of the position, it's unlikely that qualified candidates would apply for the short-term employment contract. It's a lot of responsibility to take on for somebody who would be looking for only 12 months. It's unlikely we'd get somebody who would have the ability to fill out the role of the clerk administrator altogether. Do we want to talk about those options first and then just go into a quick note about the emergency coverage, or do you want me to just cover it all at once?
Cover it all once.
Okay. So the last one is it's possible that coverage may be required prior to January 1st. So we should make some steps to make sure that there's coverage if an emergency situation does arise and I'm unavailable. So we've confirmed that the administrator position can be covered internally by the treasurer and that the county clerk would be able to provide short-term coverage for the clerk's duties. The county clerk uses iCompass and is familiar with the processes. It's easy to set them up as a user. This would be at no fee for the municipality, but keeping in mind this would be very limited support for a short period of time. So this would be in emergency situations. Ideally we wouldn't need to deal with this option, but it would keep us running while, if I was unavailable in an emergency situation. So I'm interested in council's feedback on those options.
Open it up to council. See Karen first.
Thanks, Jasmine. My preference is still option 3, to go for a one-year employment contract. although it may be difficult to try and recruit, what my thought is there are some retired or recently retired CAOs, et cetera, in the area, including Leeds Grenville, that quite possibly would be interested in a 1-year employment contract. It's not just a part-time contract like option 2. So I think that should be an option that we do look at. The AMCTO, the Ontario Municipal Jobs, those are the sorts of the AMO that we can post on for this 1-year maternity employment contract and see who might be interested. Because when you have a complete 1-year employment, it's not just as short term as some of the other contracts can be. When it is for 5 days a week for 52 weeks out of the year, there are some people that are very interested in that sort of thing. So I think it's an option we should be pursuing, given that this is our top position in our municipality.
Thanks, Karen. My question, Jasmine, is like reverting back to option 1. The question is about option 1. If we were to choose that, and then are you suggesting that we would, we could in fact maybe get hold of some people who have already filled the position of administrative clerk? Like, even if we were going to separate it into two positions, could we get somebody on a contract basis who's already been with us in the past?
Yes, that could be an option.
Yeah, they've actually worked in your capacity for us in the past.
No.
They've worked for us in the past, but not in my specific capacity.
No, but I guess as acting CAO.
Yeah, there would be people that we could get that have worked for us in the past that have that background and experience.
Okay, and would that would be a contract basis or what?
It could be, yep.
Okay, back to Karen.
Yeah, so we haven't had anybody in our municipality fill Jasmine's position, but at the same time, there are people who have done that in other municipalities, but we also do have access to other people as well, since some of the ones we had in the past were very limited in the days that they wanted to fill. So I still think that if we are going out to the market, we should be looking at option 3, because you're still doing a 1-year mat leave. So whether it's for clerk administrator or whether it's for deputy clerk, it gives us an opportunity to try and pull. But I think there's some people that are out there for our top position.
I guess my only thought there was that I really like the idea of us being able to utilize somebody that has worked for us fairly recently, who knows the township and the issues. That was only my thought in favor of option 1.
But again, other people can learn it in reading our materials. So, because when you're not filling the same position, there are some differences.
Yeah. Any Klaus?
Thank you, Reeve. On option 1, having someone come to us who we have used before to work as a deputy clerk. Jasmine, you mentioned about some staff members that could help out in this position also. Would that work if we had someone who we've had before come in and give a few more responsibilities to some other staff members?
So option 1 is the creation of a deputy clerk's position to be hired full-time, like to be hired externally, and then have either a contractor or a potential internal appointment, which council would determine, to act as administrator.
Right. Okay. Okay, that makes sense to me.
Karen?
Jasmine, you just said full-time, but it's not full-time. It would still be a contract position.
Yeah, contract position, working 35 hours a week was my intent to say full-time.
Jeff?
So like going with option 1, you're basically saying we can hire somebody for like 5 days a week, like the full time in that way, 5 days a week, to do a lot of the admin stuff, and then hire somebody else for 2 days a week to kind of deal with the managing and everything else, and we can do that with the same amount of, for the same amount of money, or in the same ballpark as far as the compensation goes, as that we currently are doing right now?
Should be, yeah. I can't guarantee you right now.
So we, like, in theory, could get more working hours for the same pay, which could be a good thing in that sense. Okay, let me just digest that a little bit more. Sorry, thanks.
Claus? And then
Sorry, thank back to that option one then, Jasmine. If we went that route, would there be some area where the county would still come in and help us out in, like, sorry, running meetings and stuff like that? Would you still need that?
No.
No, okay.
Okay. Ian?
Well, it's unfortunate because over 2 years ago, we changed some things in the front office, and I don't think that we took advantage of what we could have taken advantage of. And now we find ourselves in a position where we could have really had a deputy person that could have well known a good chunk of the clerk administrative role and would have been able to fill into this position. That being said, I am in favor of option 3. I think the role is critical in our township. And I think that we need to find someone that has some skills and ability that's led a township previously. And we have lots of things that are going on in the next year. And we need to keep the momentum that we have going here right now. And if we don't get people that have some level of experience in doing what it is that we're doing, we're just going to be, I'm really afraid that we will fumble along for a whole year.
I think we probably all agree in that the position is critical. We all agree to that. I guess the reason why I was mentioning option 1 as a preference would be the hope that we would get somebody who not necessarily has experience in the position, but who has experience working for us. So that to me would be a big advantage. But I do agree with you, and I think we all agree that it's very, very critical. Yes, Ian, I'll let you respond then.
Yeah.
Jeff and Karen.
I could see going a little bit of a different route internally even, but right now, this is no disrespect to anybody of our staff or anything, but we have a relatively new staff. We have a relatively new treasurer. We just hired a brand new roads manager. It's not like we have a bunch of the staff that's been sitting here with 20 years experience and has a lot of municipal experience under their belt. So I'm sure that the staff relies on our clerk administrator for guidance in a lot of occasions throughout the day to make sure that we are going in the proper direction. And I think that if we don't maintain that level of guidance, then I think that, like I said, we're going to fumble around for a year and maybe make poor decisions.
Okay, Jeff, Karen, and Claus.
I guess how am I going to phrase this? Like say Lanark leaves in Grenville in that area. How many maternity leaves have there been, say, in your position or in your type of position? That, like, do you know that by chance, like in the last few years?
Very little.
Okay, so but in the very little side of things, what has those municipalities done? Because this is a very good points on both sides, obviously, and to talk to Karen's side of it, saying, yeah, if there's a plethora of people out there to cover that position on a full-time basis for the year, and we're able to find those people, then that's a huge bonus. But if we're not, then the other way could be the route. That's why I'm kind of curious what other municipalities have done, because to follow that lead, and is there an opportunity? I guess my question really is there an opportunity to advertise for that 1-year contract position, and see what we get, and then because we have a little bit of time, and then if we don't get those people, then then look at option one to see like if there's like, I'm sure there's, like you say, retired people that only want to work a couple days a week or that would love to come in. And the other struggle part I have is like that person that might be retired that only wants to work a couple days a week could be the best option to manage us for the next year or two as well. So I mean there is a lot here as far as like that side of it. So I'm curious of how we can advertise for it to maybe get to the right direction. I'd be nice to just replace you with one person, just kind of go forward for the year, then you come back and everything's seamless. But if that person doesn't exist, then option one really makes a lot of sense for me, for sure, especially if we can get a stronger manager that only wants to work part-time because they're retired.
Mhm.
Anyways,
If I could just, you did ask a couple questions there,
I
Councilor
did.
Carroll.
So please,
I
yeah,
do-
yeah.
So generally there is not a lot of there's lots of examples for the fulfilling of mat leave for clerks, which for the most part are 1-year employment contracts. The examples for filling mat leaves for clerk administrators or CAOs, which would be also comparable, are very few and far between in our area, at any rate.
Okay, I have, I can't remember Claus and Karen, one of you, I
I'm
can't
not
remember.
I'm not quite done yet, Bill.
Okay,
And to answer, I guess generally it could be an option. There should be enough time. You know, I may be wrong in my estimation of the pool in which we could hire from. So that could be an option, is in that we post and see what we get. And then have the ability to say, well, this is not working. We can come back and go with option one afterwards.
Okay, just a quick follow-up. Sorry, I don't want to butt my line here, but I
Okay.
appreciate, is that okay, Bill? Sorry.
yes, go ahead.
I appreciate that, Jasmine, because I think that's the big part of it is sort of your honest feedback of where you think we should go with that. And so now it kind of makes me kind of go on that line to what, you know, Karen's kind of talking about or Councillor Jennings, sorry, is talking about maybe advertising for that position and see what we can get out of it. And then it gives us this, because we have the time, and then if we're not getting anything, and we can still revert to option one, we might have a better opportunity of finding a part-time manager that's very strong. Anyways, thank you.
Okay, so I'm going to go to Karen and Claus and Ian. Karen?
So Jeff, I know that there was twice in Leonard County, a CAO's position that was filled by a mat leave contract twice. I do know that there was another municipality in Leonard County that had a backfilling of a CAO's position for quite some time through a secondment. And I also know that in Leeds Grenville, there was a long-term contract for a CAO for a municipality that struggled to find a CAO. So that's why I know that there are people out there that are willing to take these contracts. It's a matter of getting them posted so that they are aware, which is why I think we should look at option 3 before we do, you know, option 1 or option 2.
Okay, Claus?
Thanks, Reeve. I don't have, after listening to it, I've been reading this over and over again. I don't really have a big problem with option 3. I just think it's going to be difficult to find somebody. And I realize what Councillor Jennings is saying, that the employment people that are out there going to work are pretty slim these days. So that's why I'm still kind of leaning towards option 1. And I do feel that if we did go with option 1, should be some way that the county can step in and help out to make sure things get done, you know, which is not going to cost us any money. That's what the county's there for, to help various townships out.
The way that option 1 is recommended to be structured is we would not need assistance from other municipalities or the county.
None at all. Okay.
No.
Okay, Ian?
Yeah, I'd like to put a motion forward that we adopt option 3 and put to a vote.
Well,
Hold on.
Yes, Karen?
the whole thing is like option 1 is still hiring somebody on contract for 1 year as a deputy clerk. So if you think you're going to struggle to hire a clerk administrator for a 1 year, you'll struggle for a deputy clerk, because who's going to take a position out of a municipality to do a deputy clerk? So you're still going to be finding somebody. So I really think that your retired CAO or a retired clerk administrator from another municipality in Lanark County or Leeds Grenville is your option of 3, because I don't think you're going to find somebody who is looking for just a 1-year contract as deputy clerk that isn't working in a municipality now, knowing that it's only a 1-year contract. So that's why option 1 really isn't what I'm looking at. I do think we would struggle because of the fact that it is only a contract. So I do
Okay.
agree with Ian, though. Let's put a motion forward.
So before we do that, is everyone okay with the emergency coverage?
Yes.
Is there
Yes.
any issues with that?
Yeah, we can put that one away.
So I'm going to take one more question because you had your hand up, Claus. And then we'll
Thank you,
go to Ian. Yes,
Just my follow-up comment at option 1. If we go the deputy clerk route, I realize it's just a contract for 1 year, but we may find out that after that 1 year, that person's doing a super job for us, and we may want to extend that and keep that position there. Possibly.
That's a
I
totally
think a much larger discussion than we can handle tonight, I would say.
because
Sorry.
because if you're
Okay.
talking then going to a permanent job, that's a totally different subject because that attracts different people than a contract. But the second thing I have, Jasmine, on the job description that says January 2017, it says that the clerk administrator reports to the treasurer.
Yes, there is an error in there. Yes,
Okay.
it needs to be corrected. I am aware. Thank you.
okay, so Ian, you're moving a motion.
Yeah, for option 3.
Do we have to vote on the other option that we had first, Jasmine?
Generally, the rules of council are a little bit more relaxed than committee of the whole. So
Yeah.
I think if council wants to provide verbal direction to move forward with option 3, we can just amend the motion.
Because
formal
the other option that we were talking about there, I'm not sure who put that on the table, was that we post as if it was option 3 and see what we were going to get. But if we weren't successful, then we were able to revert back to option 1.
Well, I think that is going to be in effect anyway.
Okay,
If option
Yeah.
3 doesn't work, then we
Okay.
will have to have another discussion about how this is going to look.
okay, so Ian, you have moved a motion to go with option 3. And I guess we need a seconder for that. And that
So
was
it doesn't have to be a formal motion. So council can just provide direction to move forward. It's committee of the whole, so we can be a little bit more casual with our motions.
Okay,
So-
so I'm going to go around the table here then. Claus, I'll start with you. Which option?
Yeah, I'll go with option 3. We'll try that and see what happens.
Jeff,
Yeah, 3 is good.
Karen,
Option 3.
and Ian? I guess, yeah. If we're only asking for consensus, once we've passed 3 and they're all the same, then that's the consensus.
Good to go.
Okay, so that's our
So then-
consensus then, Jasmine?
Yes, so then the resolution would read that council endorse option 3 and then endorse the emergency coverage plan and direct staff to bring forward information.
Okay, so yes, Jeff, before I read that, Jeff?
I just want to know, okay, so do we have to wait 2 weeks before we can post this?
I can
No.
prepare the posting and have it ready to go. But council can, if you want to, you can say, let's do it right now.
I'd like to get it, because I'd like to get it done with it. If option 3 is going to work, let's get it posted. Let's get the results so we can discuss this in like early November at the latest. And if things aren't going awry, I don't want to come to like December and go, oh, you know what, we didn't find anybody. So I'd really like, if we can, post it right away with a closing date, in, I don't know, 3 weeks from now. So like, we have like our first meeting in November, we have, a solution for, or either an option or that we need to look somewhere else.
Yes.
Does that sound good to people?
Yeah, I mean, you'd have to get consensus from council to do that. I think at that point, you're going to be suspending your rules of procedure, so I would ask for a motion. for that.
So I bring forth a motion to post the position way.
So
With a
what we
closing
could do
date.
is add to the motion and suspend the rules of procedure.
Okay, So
How
what
about
do
I
I-
draft something and I can read it out and then you can all vote on it.
perfect. So I'm like, what do you want me to say here? Like, all good.
So I'm going to then read the motion. I think we can go ahead and read the motion first
No, no.
for option 3.
We're gonna drop the new one.
Not yet.
But we're gonna make it speedy, Bill, because we want to get this going, right? So
Yeah.
if we get,
Can we put a cutoff date prior to our next meeting?
No, that's not.
That's too soon.
no, that's too soon. That's too soon.
Sure.
The
Okay,
first one in November, by the first one in November, that should be fine.
Yeah, that gives you pretty near 3 weeks, 3 solid weeks.
We can have it posted.
However,
Sorry,
Yes,
if
at the-
everybody can just put up your hand, please, because we have
Sorry.
2 or 3 people talking at the same time. Karen, sorry, Jasmine.
I do want to note that because this is the clerk administrator position, the leadership position, the hiring policy doesn't apply. So at our next meeting on the 20th, we would have a conversation about how that process is going to look in terms of what the interview would look like, what the interview panel and stuff like that would look like. This is council's position. So there's a little bit more of a role of anyway, we're going to have a conversation about how that hiring process will look.
Yeah, that's fine.
Just so council knows, that'll be at the next meeting.
Okay,
So I have a drafted motion based on the direction provided by council. So that the committee of the whole receive the following report, Clerk Administrator J. Ralph, maternity leave coverage, and that following be recommended to council, the council endorse option 3, and that council suspend the rules of procedure and direct staff to post the position immediately, and that council endorse the emergency coverage plan and direct staff to bring forward information.
okay, so that motion was moved by Jeff Carroll. And I did see a clause, your hand up. Are you seconding it?
yes.
Okay, any further discussion? Karen?
So that's closing that like the 30th of October?
Yeah, that would be a decent time.
That's 3 weeks.
Jeff?
Like, when could you have that posted by? Like Thursday?
Yeah, I could have it done by the end of the week. There's no reason why I couldn't do that. Thursday or Friday.
So yeah, so that would give us 3. It would be open. Then it'd be open for 3 weeks, and then you some results for the first week of November for that meeting, right?
Yes.
Or like a discussion point saying I have a bunch of options, or I have no options.
Yes.
Perfect. Is there?
Okay, yes, Jeff?
Sorry.
That's good.
And I guess about where to advertise. Karen Councillor Jennings was talking about making sure it's posted on certain like avenues and everything else. Is that kind of standard, or is there extra avenues that Councillor Jennings was talking about that it should be on?
Typically post locally, and then we also post for most positions, we post on AMCTO, and we can also reach out to the Municipal World Job Board as well.
Any other suggestions, Councillor Jennings, or?
Karen?
Did you say Municipal World?
Yeah.
But is that not more global, like across Canada, where I was looking at strictly staying Ontario, which is why I had suggested AMO or Ontario Municipal Jobs?
Municipal World has a very active job board is my only suggestion with Municipal World versus AMO.
How much,
Yes, Ian?
is there a large cost, Jasmine, to it?
I wouldn't be any more than $500, I don't think.
Holy
Yes.
AMCTO is $500, so
Wow. The post.
And-
But I think if we're looking to hire local, like as in, because I don't think it's going to do us much good to be trying to do an interview from somebody out west for a contract position. I think you're best to stay with your local versus going to that one. Because I mean, your AMCT and your AMO or even your Ontario municipal jobs should pull, because those are should still be looking for that, unless, as I said, unless they're out west. your local Ontario people will be looking on those.
Okay.
Okay, did we vote on that last resolution?
Not yet.
But,
Okay, okay. All right. Yes, Ian?
Because it's the clerk administrator job, should council get to view the resumes as they come in?
Yeah, we'll talk about that whole hiring process. I mean, as they come in, we'll talk about that hiring process at the next meeting.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, thank you, everybody, for that one. Then moving on
You have to call a vote,
to the next.
Reeve Dobson, you got to call a vote on that item.
Oh, I thought we had.
No.
no,
That's why I was asking if we'd voted on it. Okay, so all in favor? All in favor? That is carried. Okay, thank you. So Jasmine, the resolution that I had was moved and seconded by different people than the one that we just did. So if you can rectify that page, and I'll have to sign that one. Okay?
Yes, that's fine.
Okay. Thank you. And next is also your report, Jasmine, on the council and local board remuneration and expenses.
So back in 2019, council did direct staff to review both our user fees and charges bylaw and the council and local board remuneration bylaws. I have provided an overview of our remuneration bylaw along with a few suggested edits. They're not extensive edits. And I have provided a short comparison, and I apologize it is so sparse, of some of the area municipalities that are kind of comparators in terms of fence viewing and livestock valuers. This issue came up to review this bylaw because our fence viewers were only allocated funding per appeal, but rather than per site visit. So I am recommending that we change our verbiage to per site visit, because it is often required, not often, but certain appeals can require fence viewers to actually go out and make more than one judgment on for the issue. Overall, the bylaw works fairly reasonably, but I am asking for council directions on certain items. I do note that I have modified in the new bylaw the remuneration for council members. That is only just reflecting the updates to cost of living. So it's not anything new. So I'm looking, there has been some discussion from council members about the remuneration for the recreation committee. So our staff is seeking direction from council on that item. I'm also recommending that that mileage and related expenses be included as compensation to all members, including livestock investigation, fence viewing, and committee of adjustment, and property standards. They do require members to undertake site visits and require committees to drive to meetings. And then the fence viewer item. So those are the major items that I brought up as discussion items tonight, but I'm interested in council's direction on this item.
Claus?
thank you, Jasmine, for the report. And the Recreation Committee, how many members do we have on the Recreation Committee that this would involve?
That's a great question. Give me a minute.
All right,
Or maybe
Jeff, how many?
7 plus 2 councils. 7 plus 2 council members, I think.
Well, the council representatives
Yeah,
wouldn't.
I think 7 as far as the, I think that's right. Jasmine will correct me quickly though.
Okay, more.
Having a hard time.
Well, anyway, my second comment on this is the Recreation Committee not considered a volunteer position?
That was when we discussed the development of the committee, that was, yes.
And did I see in your report, Jasmine, or somebody else's report, that the other municipalities don't pay for the recreation committee?
Typically on
Correct.
similar committees like that, they don't receive per annum.
Okay, Claus, were you finished?
Yes, I was.
Okay, Karen?
So I just wanted to clarify. So the library people get $115 a year to sit on the boards, right?
Mhm.
And our committee of adjustments getting $70 per application. Property standards is getting 65 per meeting.
Mhm.
Fence viewers are going to get 90 per site visit. And livestock valuers are getting 75 per inspection. How
Yes.
many of these are cost recovery? Like not the library for sure, but are any of the others cost recovery by the activity that it reflects?
Fence viewing is cost recovery.
Yeah.
Committee of adjustment is cost recovery. Livestock valuers, we get $30 per inspection from the province. It's not full cost recovery. And no cost recovery for property standards.
How often do they meet?
In the 5 years I've been here, we've had one meeting.
Okay.
Oh, that's a no-brainer.
Follow up too.
Right.
So in this one, I see where you adjusted for council as in what their rate is for 2020.
Yeah.
Is there a reason then that other staff are not noted there that would be in the same boat? Like for example, the volunteer firefighters?
This bylaw is just appointments to local boards. So it
Okay.
wouldn't be, it doesn't, yeah.
But
Just be
we're not
those two.
board.
No, it'd be council and appointees to local boards.
Okay. So
Yeah.
just so that they don't get lost in the shuffle, because I know that it's not a regular thing, because I did request at my first budget meeting back in 2018 that we make sure that they don't get forgotten with their cost of living the same as all other staff.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions on this? Seeing no other questions, then I have a motion here, was moved by Jeff Carroll and second by Karen Jennings, that the committee of the whole receive the council and local board remuneration report, and that the following be recommended to council, that council provide direction on the suggested changes to the council and local board remuneration bylaw.
We really,
Before
There
we
was no suggestion.
So
Sorry.
I guess the idea
Sorry,
is
sorry,
that are you
just
good with
hold
the?
it. Just
Yeah.
sec, before I vote on that, I have two people with hands up. Jeff and Ian, I believe, and Jasmine. So Jeff,
Jasmine might be touching on this one, but
okay,
are we gonna discuss it with
maybe
the rec-
Jasmine will answer the questions then. Yes, Jasmine, do you want to help us on this then? And then I'll go back to the other two questions.
So I guess if with the absence of additional direction, I guess the assumption would be that council would be okay with some of the changes that were made to the bylaw. If council wants to provide direction on that, that's excellent. If there's no direction on things like the recreation committee and mileage, it would be no change unless council wants to provide direction on those things specifically.
Jeff?
So that's right. I guess I was going to get to, like, do we want to discuss, like, I'm fine with, and I'm open for discussion, but I'm fine with what all of the committees would be sort of paid for their time, which is appropriate. I guess for the rec committee, like for those members that are there, I mean, it was brought up at a rec committee too as well. And I think the rec committee, I don't know if we passed anything or if we just kind of discussed it where, like, is there an option for that for those members? And do we want to have that discussion? Is there enough people on council that want to have that discussion to do that? Or is it something that, it's not at this time? I'm open for looking at it something, a little bit of something so that, because for their mileage and if they chip in for something or they whatever, I don't want anybody to be out. So like a little something, but I don't know what a little something is. Thank you.
I have, I believe, Ian and Claus and Karen. So Ian,
So yeah, I guess that was my point, was that we really didn't talk about the rec committee. I have no problem with the mileage and I have no problem with the fence viewers and readjusting it. But what is it that we want to do for the recreation committee? That's the question. What's the, I agree with Councillor Carroll. These people are putting some time and effort into it. They're driving around and doing their thing. So, and they really want to be quite active as well. So it's going to require even more time dedication and, driving around the township and going to events and everything else and putting them on. So I do believe that they should be compensated in some fashion, but we're going to figure out what that dollar amount is.
okay. I think maybe Claus was first and then Karen. So Claus.
Yep, thanks, Reeve. I don't have a problem with any of this, okay? But I think it should be simplified, maybe a small enumeration per year, because if you get into enumeration per meeting, mileage, events, and so forth, it could be a bookkeeping nightmare, keeping track of who drove what mileage, and they have to fill in reports that they drove to this place and that, or they have an event and somebody had to run into town to get some supplies, or they put down mileage for that. I mean, if we're going down this road, I mean, I don't have a problem with rewarding them with an honorarium of some sort, but my suggestion would be an honorarium and a flat amount, because it could be a bookkeeping nightmare for the staff.
Okay, Karen and then Ian.
Exactly. I don't know if there's mileage that needs to be added. They get an honorarium for the position that they're in. In reference to library, we appointed as many people as we wanted because it was all volunteer. If we're now going to switch that to a paid position or an honorarium position, whatever you want to call it, I think we need to look at looking at numbers that are on it, as well as seeing whether, there are people out there. Some people have it. Why would I volunteer my time if I'm not getting anything for it? So believe it or not, if we decide on a small amount, even at $100, you might get other people. So, but I don't know whether we need to get into the mileage for everybody, because that's, I think, just part of when you get onto a board, that's what you're doing. But we also look at the fact that when we do our Christmas appreciation, we do provide dinners to them. So we have to look at the whole picture versus just start adding everything in.
We have
Especially
to, sorry, Karen.
it's not, it starts out, you want to volunteer and things like that. So, I mean, if we're making a payment that is worthwhile for what the activity is, then that's one thing. But as I said, to get into mileage and everything else on top of it. But we started the library or the recreation committee off as just a strictly volunteer, and we allowed as many as volunteers that applied. That I think we need to look at it, and it would be in next year's budget that we'd have to be discussing it.
I think you hit the nail on the head when you did say that this for as long as I can remember, these positions were all filled because people actually wanted to step up to the plate and volunteer. And they weren't asking to be paid. They wanted to volunteer. And, most volunteers don't get paid. Ian?
I think that, I guess everybody's making some pretty good points here. So if we take this here as just recorder's information right now, Jasmine, can we postpone the discussion in regards to the compensation, mileage and everything else to the budget meeting time? Is that possible?
Yes, absolutely.
Good idea.
So
Pretty
Jasmine,
face sitting on council.
does this resolution as it reads now is somewhat pertinent, but other parts isn't. So do you want me to read it and we'll and see if we want to change it?
Minutes.
Well, we've got a couple options on the floor. So if council, there's been a suggestion to defer the item to budget discussions. So perhaps it's appropriate to get consensus on that item, and then the resolution can go as it reads.
Okay, so do we then have a consensus to defer this to our budget deliberations? Claus,
Yes,
Jeff?
Just the rec one, right? That's all?
just the rec one.
Just the rec one.
Yeah.
No,
Why are you saying no, Karen?
I thought it was
Well-
everything was being deferred. Like the whole thing. Is that not correct?
Well, why?
No, I'm sorry. I just misunderstood. Was that Was that not the way it was said? Was that we were just deferred, or was it just the recreation and the mileage?
Just the rec is what I got.
Ian's
That's
suggestion.
what
I was,
Fine.
I was going with the whole thing, but you
See?
wanted
I
Oh.
did listen.
Story.
It
There's
was the whole thing.
everybody, right? There's aspects for the fence viewers compensation. You know, I think that those are things that we need to look at the budget time and see what it is that we can afford and we can't afford to do.
Okay.
Then we start paying the mileage for all the fence viewers going, I don't know. Like I said, it may not happen. It happens so few amount of a time that maybe the amount is probably minuscule to even have a conversation about.
Like,
Okay, so are we deferring it, deferring all of it till our budget deliberations, or just the recreation?
I just want to do the rec committee one, that's all.
Okay, so I'm gonna get consensus then just on the recreational. That's, so Jeff, you say yes?
Like, everything else passes and we're just gonna talk about recreation and budget. That's what I like, so that makes sense to me.
Okay, before we do then, I have one question that I wanted to ask earlier, and that is regarding the fence. Oh yeah, so the fence viewers, we were increasing that to, was it $90?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so I'll go back to your suggestion then, Jeff, that we defer only the recreation issue. So you're saying yes. Ian, where do you stand on this?
Well, I guess one of my only concerns, I guess, is, like I said, I just have an idea of what the livestock investigation is as far as mileage is. I don't. I think we should just defer the whole thing. So what does that
So
look
we've
like?
got sort of we got sort of two different suggestions so far. So Jeff, you're saying just the recreation. So I'll try to get consensus there, and then we'll jump to the other one if that doesn't pass. So you're saying that just the recreation. Claus, where do you stand?
Just the recreation.
Okay, Karen.
No, I want everything reviewed.
Okay, so Ian, I think you're saying everything.
Yeah.
Okay, and I would, that means it's, I have to, I'll vote on this, and I think it's a good idea. I really think it's a good idea to review everything in the budget deliberations. So that's your consensus, Jasmine, is that okay?
Yes.
Okay, so then we don't need this resolution for now? Or do we still vote on this and vote on this one?
Yeah, because it's the council provide direction, and the direction is that the item be deferred to the, excuse me, 2021 budget deliberations.
Okay, that motion was moved by Jeff Carroll and seconded by Karen Jennings, that the committee of the whole receive the council and local board remuneration report, and that the following be recommended to council, that council provide direction on the suggested changes to the council and local board remuneration bylaw, and further discussion deferred to the budget deliberations. Is that okay?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. No other discussion? All in favor? Okay, that is carried. Thank you.
Well, and that's fine with me.
And Jasmine, if you don't mind making a note to make a change in that resolution. What we added there?
Yes, that's fine. Yeah.
Okay, thanks. Okay, moving on then. The next report is the the staff and volunteer appreciation night.
So this is a short report. We hold an annual staff and volunteer appreciation evening with dinner and entertainment in December of every year. We do need direction on holding the event for 2020. due to COVID-19, it would probably be considered at this time a legal event in terms of the COVID-19 regulations, given that it's a catered event in a hall. But the optics are negative and risks associated with holding the event are fairly high. So staff are recommending that the event be canceled for 2020 and that council provide direction on perhaps alternative methods of staff and volunteer appreciation. So this is a council event to hold, for appreciation for staff and volunteers. So ultimately direction is needed from council on the canceling of that event. And if there's alternative methods of recognition of staff and volunteers that council would like to proceed with, the budget is $3,500 for the event. So you have that money in the budget.
Okay, Claus?
Thank you, Reeve. I agree with you, Jasmine, that this should be canceled. I will be terribly disappointed. I can't run around like a madman decorating the hall this year and pretend to be Santa Claus and go get all those presents and that. But anyway, I do agree. If I may, Reeve, I do have an alternative suggestion. If everyone wanted to hear what I suggest. We have a budget of $3,500. How many, not how many people would attend, Jasmine, but how many would involve staff, council, firemen, volunteers that on the various committees and so forth? Would there be like 50, 60 in that neighborhood?
In that neighborhood, yes. Yeah.
So my suggestion would be that we would put together a Christmas card with a gift card in it. The card would be signed by all the council members to give out to each volunteer, fireman, fire chief, council members themselves for their service they've provided over the year. And if anyone's getting a certificate for a service pin or whatever, include that in that, and we would distribute those, and each person that is a recognized volunteer or on a committee of some sort would get a gift card in a certain value that would somewhat use up the $3,500 that we have budgeted for. And all the council members would sign the Christmas card and show our appreciation for their volunteer throughout the year. That's my suggestion.
Great.
See any other hands? I see no other hands.
Oh, I go.
Karen?
Yeah, it was there. I was right after class. I
Oh,
agree
sorry,
in putting out,
I went off my screen there for a minute.
I agree in putting out the service
Go ahead.
the service certificates, pins, whatever it is that we do. My thought would be more that we just put the 3,500 of this year into next year's budget and have that extra. So whether you do a bigger Christmas party or do maybe something whenever the numbers can be had, like whether it be maybe something in June or July, versus putting a gift card into cards. So, I mean, you limit the person when you give them a gift card for a specific location, and then it turns around and you are supplying, say, one specific establishment with the money. So it becomes a bit of a issue. So I think we'd be better to do the 3,500 into next year's budget. And as I said, whether we have something in the summer or whether you just do a bigger party type thing at Christmas, but do the certificates that are awarded as well as pins. But I think we need to look at that a little different.
I think Ian was next and then Claus.
Yeah, I do kind of like Claus's idea of the gift card, and I understand where Karen's going too. Can we get? I don't know if it's possible that you could just give the people that are on the committees and the volunteer firefighters a voucher that would be good at multiple locations within the township or within the town, so that it's not focused only on one business or anything else of that nature.
Get like reloadable visas, like they're just Visa gift cards that you can use anywhere.
Yeah, it's just as long as at the end of the day there's no fee. You know what I mean? Like some of those things have a fee to actually use them. So
we also have the opportunity of making like I guess I'm not sure how to describe this, but I guess making a donation to each volunteer in the name of a charity. And, we could pick a charity or the person could pick a charity. But it might be a little bit more complicated, but I have heard in the past that that was done. So in other words, we give every volunteer a gift certificate, but it's in the form of a donation to a charity. It could be Big Brothers Big Sisters, it could be United Way, it could be the local hospital, it could be many things. Claus and Karen and Jeff.
Thank you. In regards, you can get gift cards that are multiple gift cards for a multiple of restaurants. Montana's, all those different restaurants and so forth. I mean, I get them myself quite often from people. You can get, as Jasmine said, you can load a Visa card up, and I think the administration fee, Ian, is paid when you load the card up. I don't think the user pays that administration fee and that, but I think that's something we could look into. But I really feel that we should be giving them some kind of a personal gift. We give them a free dinner, which is a personal gift, and that I feel strongly that it should be something personally for them, for their service.
Okay, Karen and then Jeff.
Jasmine, can you have our treasurer reach out to do an inquiry on the receiving of gift certificates, gift vouchers?
Yes, in terms of the
Well, Jasmine.
Your voice is gone again, Jasmine.
I'll send an email.
The answer is yes.
Okay. We'll just wait for a sec here. Tell you what, I'll go ahead, I'll jump to Jeff and then come back to you, Karen.
Yeah.
Jeff?
So one of the ones where like a suggestion I have is for, especially with all the what do you call them? Everybody gets a certificate and that kind of those kind of people. I'd like to see maybe if we could do some sort of maybe video from council, and we could all maybe do something along those lines, saying, wishing people like a happy holidays and everything else. And we usually all have a list of people that sometimes we also give certificates to, and we maybe give that opportunity to recognize those people. But also, or we could in that video we could recognize a group of different volunteers we could have. So I could take 10 firemen and someone out the fence viewers, and Karen takes another 10, and we basically all make a quick 2-minute video, and I don't mind helping people doing that too as well, and we can edit together something that's like an 8 to 10 minute video that would kind of recognize everybody. We can post it on our YouTube page for those people to see it, and we can have recognizing all of those all the great accomplishments of people that we have, and then it gives us a public forum to really thank those people too as well. Anyways, I'd like us to do something along that direction. We're doing such a great job with our Zoom meetings and doing YouTube and everything else. Kind of staying in that direction for that. Thank you. I don't have any problem with some of the other discussion. I think we have to open that up as far as mailing out a card and all that kind of idea. But I'd like to see do something a little bit in that sense, because then we can really openly thank those people that are doing such a great job for us.
Okay, Ian?
Yeah, I definitely, that's a great idea, Councillor Carroll. I definitely agree with that 100%. I think that's a great idea. The only thing, I don't really want to get onto a Visa card thing. I want to kind of keep it more focused to local businesses if I could. So I don't want to get, I will kind of mold the gift card thing to that idea is my only thought.
And I agree with you. Ian, on that. If we were going to choose to say give restaurant vouchers, then I would be suggesting that we pick restaurants. I'm going to go out on the limb and say in maybe Merrickville and Smith Falls as our two closest neighbors. I might also add that we could also suggest, well, if we weren't going to do the restaurant direction, we also have, we could consider the Merrickville and District, because it is district, Merrickville and District Artists Guild. That's just another suggestion. Jasmine?
So what we could do is council could provide direction to staff to bring back, does my sound better?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Council could provide direction to staff to bring forward gift card options. So we could just give you some, we could put together some options and get the information related to Visa cards and what's out there for local businesses.
So I think we may have consensus for that,
Yeah.
Jasmine. So I'll go around and ask if we do. I'll start off with you, Claus,
Yes.
Jeff,
Sure.
Ian,
Yeah.
and Karen.
I guess.
Okay. So you do have that. Will you bring that back to our next meeting then, Jasmine?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. All right, then I have a motion was moved by Claus Vandermeer and seconded by Ian Straight that the committee of the whole receive the following report. That is the Staff and Volunteer Appreciation Night report, and that the following be recommended to council. That council cancel the Staff and Volunteer Appreciation Night for 2020, and that council direct provide.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry.
Just
Okay.
take out the first direction.
Yeah. That council, thanks, that council provide direction on alternative methods of staff volunteer appreciation. All in favor? Thank you. And thank you to all of council, because I think we're all in agreement that we all feel indebted to our volunteers and our staff. And I can tell by the way, all of the different suggestions that we would have to thank them and appreciate them. So thank you to council for that. Jeff.
I just want to go back to just kind of what I was talking about with some sort of like appreciation, little video and a thank you from all of us. Is that something that, I mean, Councillor Straight was for it, obviously. I'm just curious if that's something that the rest of council is maybe interested in doing too as well. So Jasmine can get us like a list and then we can kind of divide it up if that's what we want to do, or are people game for that?
So I think maybe Jeff, if I could make a suggestion, because that resolution that we just passed, I think could include that for the next report.
Yeah,
Because as it said, that council provide direction on alternative methods of staff volunteer appreciation. That could be part of the report that Jasmine will bring to us in the next meeting. Is that okay?
yeah, as long as it's like clear and that's, I mean, if something like a
Yeah.
positive to do, so yeah. Thanks, I think that's good.
Okay, and thank you for that great offer, Jeff.
We also, and not to throw Christy under the bus, sorry, we're not throw Christy under the bus, but Christy's also phenomenal at all of that stuff too as well. She's been a huge asset to the township, so she can definitely help us with it, I'm sure, as well, so.
Okay. All right, thank you then. Moving on to our last report, that being the contract review update. That's yours, Jasmine, also.
So this is just an update for council. We've done some work throughout the summer on some of the direction that was provided back in February. So we have updated our legal and insurance contracts. And I just wanted to provide an update that our auditing RFP will be issued in October or November, so very shortly. And then I just wanted to provide a correction to the cleaning contract. So the term actually started in 2017. I put 2016 in our last report. I do also want to note that the water wastewater financial plan must be reviewed before the end of January 2021. So we're proceeded with written quotations for that project that will be expensed as a 2021 budget item. So just an update for council.
Okay, thank you. Karen?
So on the drainage superintendent, it said it was established for 4 + 1 year renewal.
Yeah.
but we don't, do we have to do the 1-year renewal to have it go until the end of 2021?
We don't necessarily have to. We can tender at like during 2021. We don't have to do the 1-year renewal. No, it's functioning. It's a very well functioning agreement, and it's certainly of benefit. We don't have any there's no negative issues with that contract as it is now.
But I think if we've had other contracts that had that term in it and we did tender it, shouldn't we follow through with everything the same to be consistent?
If we want to renew it now, we can renew it now. Yep.
I mean, I'm just putting it out there to council to say that during this year, we have discussed other contracts that had terms in it that were similar to the renewal, and we went ahead and tendered, and we had discussions after. I think we need to be consistent in what we decide on for them so that it shows that we're being transparent and accountable in what we're doing versus picking and choosing which contract we do and which contract we don't. But council can decide.
Okay, I have Jeff and then Ian.
I was just gonna ask, like, our bylaw and CBO, are they not part of our contracts, or is that a different?
CO is in a part-time employment, so they're not contract.
Okay,
You're right. The bylaw should be on there.
okay. So the CBO, yeah, that's part-time employment, but the bylaw is supposed to be on there for. That's cool. Okay.
Okay, Ian and then Klaus.
That was my exact question too, as regards to the bylaw. If it should not be on there. I guess just one question when we actually brought up the idea of the drainage superintendent. Jasmine, a couple of years ago, we had kind of embarked on the challenge of getting all the drains redone within the township. Is that part of that costing?
Process. Yes. Yeah. That's part of that contract. Yes. Getting that work done.
All right. So did we make any headway on it this year, I guess is my question? We've fully done 2 drains.
Okay.
I know it's not great, but yeah, it's an ongoing work.
All right.
Okay, Klaus.
Yeah, Reeve, I do need to apologize. I should declare a conflict of interest on this discussion.
Okay,
We're not.
So I make note of that, Jeff.
no
We're not
problem.
being-
We didn't talk about laws.
Sorry?
Sorry, I didn't. I'm sorry, I'm hearing somebody talk, but I didn't see whose hand it was, so I don't know who. Okay, Jeff?
Sorry, I just have, like, just in defense of Claus, we're not making any decisions here. We're just looking at them, right? So.
Okay.
Yeah. Like, I don't, yeah. That's my opinion, but I'm not a lawyer.
He has declared that conflict. Okay, anything else? Karen? Sorry, Jasmine?
Oh, I just want to be clear, to declare a conflict, you have to state the nature of your conflict, and then we'll have to turn your video off.
Oh. Well, the nature of my conflict would be an item under cleaning, which is my name on there.
Great.
So I can just mute it,
Yes. No, turn the video off.
stop the video.
There you go.
I'm gone. I don't exist anymore.
Okay.
He does.
So anything else? Anything else on this report then?
No.
No, it's good.
Okay, I'm going to read it then. This resolution was moved by Karen Jennings and seconded by Jeff Carroll, that the Committee of the Whole receive the contract service review update report, and that the following be recommended to council, that we receive this for information. All in favor? That is carried. Thank you. And maybe can someone get Claus back on?
Turn his video back on, Jazz.
Can't just spontaneously do that.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we
Yes.
can hear you, Claus. You can
Yeah.
reconnect.
Yeah, you're
please.
looking good too, Claus.
There I am. Hey, I figured it out, Ian.
There you
Isn't that
go.
good?
Okay,
it's just
thank you.
You got a
Once you
gold
throw a
star.
tractor, once you
Okay,
throw a
thank you,
tractor one
everybody.
team, you don't do it.
Okay, thank you, everybody. We're moving on. We have no reports of committees, no petitions, no motions, notice of motions, no unfinished business and other business. So I'm going to ask you, Jasmine, if we have any questions from the public.
Do have one question. It is cost of living percentage. So the question is, was cost of living 15.6%? The increase in Bill's position was listed as $2,819, which is a 15.6% increase. So I think it's referring to the council remuneration. So the numbers that are used reflect the cost of living from 2017, as well as changes related to the one-third
Tax thing.
tax
Tax.
thing.
Tax
Sorry.
thing, yeah.
Wish I could be more tax
Tax.
thing. A change that was made last year or the year before.
Last year. It cost money too.
January
Yes.
2019.
2019.
Yeah.
Actually, was it not December
It was
2018?
Yes, it was 2018.
Yeah.
In December.
December 2018, it took effect.
Okay,
That's for the member of the public. That's what the change represents. So
okay, thank you, Jasmine. Were there any other questions?
that's it. No more questions.
Okay, thank you then. Then that brings us to the last motion I have, which was moved by Ian Straight and seconded by Klaus Vandermeer, that the committee of the whole meeting do now adjourn at 8:19 p.m. All in favor? I guess, yeah. Klaus, you don't want to adjourn?
We had it up.
Too early. Too early.
Can you see me now?
Okay, that's all in favor. So that is carried. Thank you. And I think that's it for everybody. So thanks to everybody, staff, council, and the public for being with us. Do we have any idea how many people were online watching this meeting, Jasmine?
Our maximum concurrent viewers was 14.
Wow.
And we averaged between 9 and 10 through most of the meeting.
That's
Good,
good.
thanks. Okay, well, that's it for the meeting then. To everybody, thank you and goodbye. Everybody keep safe.